Hey all, welcome to Share Trek India. This is Raj here. Friends, today I want to continue the discussion from my previous video about ISRO's great achievement. I was delighted to see that many of you liked my video and subscribed to the channel. Thanks to all of you and thanks for placing your confidence in me. Here is my next video again on ISRO. In future, I'll be talking about other topics as well that I'm passionate about when it comes to India. So with that said, let's get started. Welcome back. The Hollywood movie Space was reportedly made with a budget of around $100 million. This budget covered the production costs, including the salaries of the cast, the crew, and special effects, and other expenses. The movie aimed to entertain audiences and tell a fictional story about space exploration. In contrast, the Mars mission by ISRO involved a much larger objective and a different set of objectives. The Mars Orbiter Mission, or MOM, which is the acronym, also known as Mangalyaan, was launched in 2013 and aimed to study the atmosphere and surface of Mars using scientific instruments. The mission was completed at a cost of around $75 million. That's almost 75% of the budget for the movie Space. And it makes it one of the most cost-effective Mars missions in the history. This budget covered the cost of designing, building, and launching the spacecraft, as well as the ground operations and data analysis. And friends, I'm bringing this up after a long time because I had held this thought for quite a while in my mind since Mangalyaan was launched. And now that we have a platform and an audience, I thought I'll present it to you. That's why it's coming back after a long time. The Indian Space Research Organization, or ISRO, used several innovative strategies to launch its Mars orbiter mission, also known as Mangalyaan, at a low cost and low fuel basis. And these strategies include one of the very key strategies used by ISRO was to minimize the amount of fuel required to launch the spacecraft. Now, whenever a launch takes place with the current technology, the fuel weighs a lot. And therefore, in order to lift the fuel, you need more fuel. And that's how the ratio of the payload to the rocket weight keeps on getting smaller and smaller. So for very, very small loads to space, we have to use very, very heavy rockets because fuel constitutes a good portion of the payload. So by reducing the fuel requirement, the mission became much cheaper. And this was achieved by carefully planning the trajectory of the aircraft using gravity assist from Earth and Mars, and by using a small, lightweight spacecraft. By maintaining the fuel consumption, ISRO was able to keep the cost of the mission low. And the second thing is that if you keep the mission costs low by reducing the fuel requirements, then once the spacecraft is in space, the time it will take to reach Mars is going to be inexorably large, because if you have no propulsion in space, it's going to be slow. And even with a bit of propulsion, it's not going to achieve speeds that can take us quickly to Mars in a reasonably quick time. So the fact that they used the gravitation assist gave it more velocity than could have been achieved with fuel. So that's the other thing that I would like to remark. And another strategy used by ISRO was to use a modular design for the spacecraft, which allowed for easy testing and integration of various components, and also made it easier to make modifications or upgrades. The modular design also helped to reduce the weight of the spacecraft, which in turn reduced the amount of fuel needed for the launch. And I think that going forward, when the next Mangalyaan mission comes up, the modularity is going to make it even easier to upgrade and create more features and individually improve each component or each module, so that overall the next generation of Mangalyaan vessels will be even more optimally designed. And another thing I would like to mention is that ISRO used mostly indigenous technology for the Mars mission rather than relying on foreign technology or components. This helped to reduce the cost of the mission as well as build local expertise and capabilities. The Mars orbiter mission carried a limited number of scientific instruments compared to other Mars missions. This helped to keep the cost of the mission low while still achieving the primary scientific objectives. ISRO also adopted a collaborative approach for the mission, working with other organizations and countries to share resources and expertise. For example, NASA provided tracking and communication support for the mission, while other countries provided ground support. By using this strategy, ISRO was able to successfully launch and operate the Mars orbiter mission at a much lower cost than other Mars missions. The mission helped to establish India as a leading spacefaring nation and inspired a new generation of scientists and engineers. Before India's Mars orbiter mission, a total of 4 countries, including Soviet Union and Russia as separate entities, had sent Mars missions. Here's a list of these countries and other missions in case you are interested. United States has sent multiple Mars missions starting from Mariner 3 in 1964. Some of the notable missions of NASA includes Viking 1 and Viking 2 in 1975, Pathfinder in 1996, Spirit and Opportunity in 2003, and Curiosity in 2012. Soviet Union sent several Mars missions in the 1960s and 1970s, including Mars 1 and in 1962, which was the first spacecraft to fly by Mars, and Mars 3 in 1971, which was the first spacecraft to land on Mars. European Space Agency, ESA, has sent 2 Mars missions, Mars Express in 2003 and ExoMars in 2016. And finally, we have Japan. Japan sent its first Mars mission, Nozomi, and it was called Nozomi, Nozomi, in 1998, but the mission failed to achieve its objectives due to technical problems. India's Mars orbiter mission launched in 2013 and successfully inserted into Mars orbit in 2014 was the first interplanetary mission undertaken by ISRO and the first successful Mars mission by any Asian country. Several individuals played key roles in leading the Mars orbiter mission at ISRO. And I would like to mention some of the names here to pay homage to their incredible efforts. And I think the budgets were shoestring and whatever was available in India, they used it and their immense skills and knowledge to make this happen. The first one is Dr. K. Radhakrishnan. He was the chairman of ISRO when the Mars orbiter mission was launched. He played a key role in the overall planning and execution of the mission, and the director and he was the director of Vikram Sarabhai Space Center during the Mars mission. And in that role also, he played a critical role in the development and testing of the spacecraft. Next, we have A.S. Kiran Kumar, who was the director of the Space Application Center during the Mars mission. SAC was responsible for the development of the payloads on board the spacecraft. Mailaswamy Annadurai, he was the project director for the Mars mission. He led the team that was responsible for the design, development, and testing of the spacecraft. Nandini Harinath was the Deputy Operations Director for the Mars mission. She played a critical role in the successful insertion of the spacecraft into Mars orbit. And then we have Momita Datta. She was the payload systems engineer for Mars mission. She was responsible for the design and testing of the payloads on board the spacecraft. There were several notable women leaders who played key roles in the Mars orbiter mission. Nandini Harinath played a critical role as the successful insertion of the spacecraft into Mars orbit. Additionally, the Mars mission had several women scientists and engineers who worked on various aspects of the mission, including spacecraft design, mission planning, and payload development. I think ISRO has proved itself, and with continuing patronage by the government and adequate budgets and vision, it's capable of achieving further lofty goals. This is all for today. I hope you liked this video, but I'm going to come back to you again with a list of missions that ISRO has got in its mind for this year and the next few years. It's going to be a very interesting read. And after that, I'll go on to the other topics that I have in mind to bring to you. And if you like this video, please do not hesitate to press a like out there. It helps YouTube to send this video to people like yourself who might like this video. And also, if you are not yet subscribed, please subscribe and help grow this channel. Thanks and have a great day. I'll catch up with you again. Bye for now.